Hello and welcome. The weather's really terrible at the moment in some parts, so I hope you're safe and well. And in today's exciting episode, I take some scraps and I make them into a patchwork dress.
It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket.
So to recap, I cut up loads of dresses, and so I've got all the pieces for each dress neatly folded in boxes, and I kept all the scraps, collected them all, cut off the little bits that I couldn't use, and then sorted all the scraps into different coloured containers. A couple of them I left out because I couldn't decide which bag, but most of them were just sorted into the 5 bags. And I decided to start with the beige one, so I dumped all that out onto the desk and started, so I cut them sort of into semi-uniform size and just started sewing them together. So formed a strip of patches all in rows, and then I wrapped one around the mannequin just to sort of get an idea of how much I was going to need. And then and that's where the last video ended, the sewing vlog. And since then I've just done rows and rows and rows of these things, and yeah, it looks like so much fabric, but I know how much goes into a tiered dress, or a dress with a really wide skirt at the bottom. Yeah, so I'm just doing loads and loads of them, and yeah, it looks like a lot, but I know when I start sewing them together, the rows together, and yeah, it will sort of reduce them down again because of the seam allowance again, of course. So yeah, I went and scrounged around and found a few more, and decided to use them as well. There was one fabric that's just a whole bit of fabric that I wasn't going to use as patches, but I changed my mind. It's such a good colour match, and I mean, I bought it to make a dress or a shirt out of, and this is a dress. So yeah, I decided to cut it up into strips, and I'm using some of that as well. So yes, after I'd made more than a dozen, I cut them into thinner strips because I felt the patches were too big. So yeah, they're just in thinner strips now, which means, yeah, of course there's more seams. So I'll have to make even more because of all the surface area that gets eaten up by every seam allowance, every inch or two. But yeah, it's coming along slowly, very, very slowly. But yeah, I know with normal patchworking, where there's a uniform size square of fabric, then you have to iron you have to do nesting with the seams. You have to, like, one row you iron them left, and then the next row you iron them right. And that way when you turn it out, they're all they don't bump up against each other. But I've made them irregular, so they're all different sizes. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to do. So I just keep making more rows, which is good because you know, I'm going to need them all. So yeah, I'm still continuing. So then I made more and more, and eventually I sort of had the confidence to start sewing them together. And so I did a loop for, yeah, look at this. This is the circumference at the bottom of the skirt. I think I went a bit overboard. It's over 5 yards wide, the bottom of the skirt. So basically, it looks more though, doesn't it? Maybe I got the measurement wrong. Anyway, so I've done the bottom third of the skirt of the dress. And now it goes steeply in. I draped it over the red dress, so you can see how steeply it goes in on the original, the ruby dress. So now I have to just leave that there for the time being. And yeah, I still have, I don't know, I just don't feel like there's enough fabric. I have to make more strips. And I mean, there's a fair amount of fabric still left. It's not too bad, but I think I may have to do the top, like the bodice and the sleeves, in a different colour. So yeah, I'm not sure which one yet. I'll see how far the fabric I have gets me, And then I think maybe the one with pink and orange, because that would sort of match this one. Or maybe the one with the bright greens. I'm not sure. So then I had dinner and I wasn't going to do anything else. But last night I did lots more. I finished the whole skirt of the dress. And yeah, it's absolutely adorable. But it's a lot heavier than I thought it would be. I mean, yeah, I guess there is all that seam, like all the seams. But yeah, so here the skirt is finished and the top there is not actually a top, it's the lining for the bodice. But I really like it as a top. So the red dress is how the dress is when you make it a dress. But yeah, this is it as a skirt and a top. So just because of how much heavier this skirt is than the, like, if it was just made out of one bit of fabric sewn together with two side seams, I'm thinking maybe I'll make it as a skirt, because when you make a dress that's loose fitting, basically all the weight sits on your shoulders and it sort of also pushes in your chest a bit. So you really have to cinch in the belt to make it carry some of the weight of the really heavy skirt. So yeah, it would be more comfortable to wear if it's a skirt and a top. So I'm thinking maybe I'll do that. So I mean, I could make it a different type of dress, but I'd wear it much more. Oh, that's gingerbread one. I didn't have enough to do a whole piece, so I sewed two pieces together and then made one piece. So yeah, I think it's really cute and I love how handmade it looks. But yeah, I did have to pleat some of the rows because those bottom tiers of the skirt really are extravagant in the size and the, yeah, to reduce it down. I guess the next time I make it, I'll construct it differently. So instead of using squares or, you know, four-sided pieces, I'll add angled bits in. So it's more like, yeah, so it's more like wedges and not everyone's straight. But yeah, I do really like the way it is. It's I still have to iron it, so it is going to look less sort of homemade. At the moment it's aggressively handmade. But yeah, I don't know. I really like that about it. So I think it's cute. I think the pleats are a bit much. I could do without them. I would, if I was better at doing patchworking, I would, yeah, some of you who are doing, if you've got any experience as a quilter, you're probably just yelling at the screen right now. But, you know, I don't have a mum or any grandmas. They're all passed away, so I sort of have to do what I do and learn from my terrible mistakes. So yeah, I think I'll do it sort of make it so that they're rounded next time. Each tier is rounded, but I really love how uneven the tiers are, so I wouldn't change that. But yeah, with the top, I think I will make one, see with the skirt, I just did individual rows and then sewed, and then I made it into a loop, and then I sewed another one to it, and then another one to that, and then another one to that. So sort of more like knitting rather than creating one big flat piece and then cutting out pieces of the pattern from that. But yeah, I think I could make a small fitted bodice for to go on the top, and that way it would support the weight of the skirt better. But I really like this loose top, and I think just the style, the patchworky style, has a much more homemade feel to it. And I think, yeah, the baggier top would be much more suitable. So this is all I have left. There's like half a strip of patches sewn together. So I need to make heaps more. I need about at least half a yard full fabric width. So yeah, that's lots more patches sewn together so that I have enough to make the front of the bodice, the back of the bodice, and the two puffy sleeves. So yeah, I'll go and so I'm doing pretty well though with these colours. touch wood, I think I'm going to be able to get the whole thing out of these beige ones and not have to use any of the other bags. Okay, time to get back to it. But I really love how it looks from the side. I think I really love how it doesn't have side seams, and I love how I was able to make it sort of flatter from the side, so it sort of will really hang off the hips. And yeah, I think it's really good shape. It's sort of a bit, I think I'll get better the more I do, but yeah, for a first attempt ever at building a skirt, one circle of fabric at a time, I think it's pretty good. Okay, time to do more patchworking. And then I spent what felt like forever sewing patches together and then sewing the rows together after I'd sewn all the patches together. And here is the finished product. It's an entire piece. And I think there's one or two directional pieces that are upside down, but for the most part, they're up the right way. The couple that are around the wrong way are the Very Hungry Caterpillar bits, and there's like an apple the wrong way around or something. So they're not very, it's not earth crushing or anything. And I think it looks pretty good. There's a couple of floral ones where there's sort of 3 rows that are sort of the same bit, but on the whole it worked out pretty well. I was a little bit over it, but so you can see there's a cluster of sort of gingerbread coloured florals over. Anyway, so after I ironed it, which took forever, sorting out those seams is a nightmare. So after I ironed it, then unfortunately I didn't get to keep my little gherkin in the middle of the bit of fabric. I sort of had to cut around it. So I cut out the front and the back, and on the back I used the back for there's a section with a couple of different florals are in a row. So yeah, that's the back. I had to use it on something, so it was either a sleeve or the back. I used it on the back. So next thing, once each of the 4 bits were cut out, 2 sleeves and a front and a back bodice, then I sewed the bodice front and back together, and I stitched the sleeves together at the side so that they were just one whole thing. And then as I showed you before, I'd already made the lining, so I sewed the lining and the outer bodice together, then attached the sleeves, and here we go, it's done. I'm so happy with it. I was really over it by the end. So I did want to make a top and then a separate skirt, but that takes longer than making a dress. So I ended up just doing a dress. I think I'll wear it for a bit, and if I do feel that it's a bit heavy, I'll separate them and make them 2 different bits. But when I'm out, I'll just wear a sash around the waist anyway. So, and I didn't make a patchwork sash. I thought that would be a bit too matchy. Plus, I've already got like 10, and I'm about to make a bunch more, and a lot of them will actually be the fabrics in there. So, I didn't make a sash specifically for this one. But I do like how the Very Hungry Caterpillar bit of chocolate cake is on my stomach, and I was super hungry at this point. So I was like, oh, speaking of, and there's a fox in the front. So yeah, I thought that was really cute. And I'm really happy with it. But it's so frustrating. I feel like because when I thought I was running out of fabric, I scrounged around and found some more scraps and ended up sorting them into the 5 different bags as well. So I feel like I ended up with more fabric than I started with in my scrap bags. But I'm definitely going to make at least, several more of them. But I think I'll make skirts. I'll wear this and see how I just love it from the side. I think it looks so pretty. I love the way I did the skirt. I don't think it turned out fantastic or anything. There's definitely room for improvement. And this is the back, and you can see that there's runs of those 2 different florals. And yeah, on the skirt, the way I've done the pleating to bring in the gather them in. I think, next time round I'll make sure I use sort of wedges of fabric to make a circle skirt and do it that way. But on the whole, I think, I'm not naturally talented at making these, but I think if I keep practicing, I'll get better. And it's pretty amazing just starting from a bunch of rubbishy scraps and making an entire dress. I really like it with this darker belt. It kind of looks completely different. It's weird. Yeah, I like this sort of teal one. It's the teal vintage Christmas fabric one. And it's really pretty. And it sort of, makes me notice all the Christmas ones in there more. And I think I've got that dark green belt. I think if I wore that one with it, it would look absolutely gorgeous, because that green belt tends to look good with absolutely everything. So and now I'm looking at the rack full of dresses. I was going to make the Italian tweed, but next month is beige and pale blue, so I might, and that's got lots of beige in it. So looking at the piles and piles of fabric just strewn everywhere, and that rack full of things that are almost finished. I think I might spend the rest of this year, it's just so long. So the next couple of days just finishing as much of the half done stuff as I can, because the navy and teal dresses just need a lining. So all I have to do is cut out the black lining, machine sew the neck, and then do the sleeves, and and then hand stitch it at the waist, and the dress is done. So and there's a couple of lighter ones that just need basically the same thing. I think I need to hand stitch around the waist and attach the sleeves, and then they're pretty much done. So it won't take too long. It's just a lot of ploddy work. So I think I'll get them done, and that way I can include them in the 2022 makes and make a video of them. So thank you for watching, and I highly recommend getting your scraps out and making something from them. It did take a lot of time, and it's a lot of sort of mindless, endless work. But it's so pretty. And definitely give it a go if you're on the fence about whether or not to work with your scraps. Definitely at least give it a go. I really want to make up the bright ones and the darker coloured scraps now. I think I'll finish the unfinished dresses first, but I'm quite looking forward to working with the scraps again.